All right, let's just dive right into this explainer. We're going to translate 10 foundational financial pillars into a step-by-step roadmap built specifically for your college years. We're talking about a real guide to financial independence here. Look, you are at a totally pivotal moment. For a lot of you, this is literally the first time you're managing your own money, buying your own groceries, and just, making choices without that financial safety net. And the money habits you're forming on campus right now, they won't just last until graduation. They're going to echo for decades. So let's get you set up for absolute success.
So picture this. Imagine walking to your mailbox today and finding a $1,000 refund check from your university, or maybe opening a really generous graduation gift. Ask yourself honestly, what would you do with it right now? Just think about it for a second. Because what happens next is exactly what we're going to explore throughout this entire explainer.
Basically, you've got three paths for that grand. One person spends it immediately. Another plays it safe and stashes it in savings. A third person decides to invest it. Now flash forward 10 years. Let's look at the literal reality of those choices. The spender wakes up a decade later empty-handed, kind of wondering where it all went. The saver? Well, they still have their money, but thanks to inflation, it buys significantly less than it used to. But the investor? They've built a foundation. These three choices lead to completely different financial lives. And the secret here? The difference isn't luck, it's simply understanding how money actually works. Today we're breaking down the stuff that schools rarely teach, but that every single adult desperately needs to know.
So here's our exact playbook for today. Step 1, control your cash. Step 2, manage your debt. Step 3, beat the hidden thief. Step 4, build real wealth. And Step 5, leverage your superpower. We're organizing these critical concepts into a nice progressive journey.
You'll see how these steps build on one another. We're creating an actionable guide that starts with your immediate reality on campus, like dealing with part-time wages and insanely expensive textbooks, and then zooms all the way out to your post-grad future where you're building real, lasting financial independence.
All right, kicking things off with Step 1, control your cash, mastering the basics. This is all about managing that part-time job income and figuring out where your hard-earned cash is actually going every month.
The absolutely crucial point here is that a high salary doesn't automatically make you rich. We constantly confuse income with wealth, especially when we start applying for those first jobs out of college. But let's be clear, income is just the money you receive. Wealth? That's the money you actually keep and grow. Let the math sink in for a second. Someone earning $3,000 a month at an entry-level job but saving consistently can eventually beat someone earning 15 grand a month who blows every single penny to maintain a flashy lifestyle. The reality is incredibly simple, but man, is it powerful. Money you do not keep cannot build your future.
Which brings us directly to budgeting. Think of your income as water flowing into a bucket, and your daily expenses as holes leaking water out. In college, those leaks are, the late-night pizzas, the surge pricing Ubers, and those 5 different streaming subscriptions you completely forgot to cancel. If those holes are bigger than the flow coming in, the bucket eventually runs dry. You experience that magical disappearance of money where you open your banking app and think, no way, where did last week's paycheck go? A budget simply plugs those holes. It's the deliberate act of telling your money exactly where to go before it just disappears.
Moving right along to Step 2, manage your debt, navigating borrowing. This is where we tackle the immediate collegiate threats you're facing right now, from massive student loans to signing up for your very first credit cards.
Look, whenever you borrow money, you usually pay extra, and that extra amount is called interest. Think of interest as a rental fee you pay for the privilege of using someone else's money. Banks earn their profits by charging borrowers like you more interest than they pay to people who are just keeping money in savings accounts. This is especially vital to grasp with student loans. The longer you take to pay them off, the more rent you pay on that money. So keep in mind, lower interest rates make borrowing significantly less expensive. You always want to pay fierce attention to that percentage rate.
And your interest rates? They're heavily tied to your credit, which is essentially your financial reputation in the adult world. When you repay debts on time, lenders look at you and see trust. More trust translates to lower borrowing costs. But here's why this matters to you today. How you handle that very first campus credit card right now directly dictates if you'll be able to afford the monthly payments on your first car or an apartment after graduation. Poor repayment habits now will make your future loans much more expensive, just because lenders will view you as a risk.
Next up is Step 3, beat the hidden thief, protecting your purchasing power. We're shifting gears from day-to-day survival to understanding the unseen heavy forces playing with your money.
And that hidden force? It's inflation. Have you noticed that a week's worth of groceries costs significantly more today than it did during your freshman year? That is inflation in action.
Over time, your money simply buys fewer things. Prices slowly creep up, meaning the $20 bill in your wallet today will literally buy you less pizza 5 years from now. If your savings are growing slower than the rate of inflation, you are quietly, invisibly losing purchasing power. This is exactly why simply stashing all your cash under a mattress or even in a basic checking account just isn't enough to protect it.
Now we're at step 4, build real wealth. Moving to the offensive. We're transitioning to proactive strategies to actually outpace inflation, instead of just sitting on the sidelines watching your money lose value.
This brilliantly illustrates the core difference between assets and liabilities. The wealthy know this difference intimately. Assets put money into your pocket. Think a rental property, a business, or investments. Liabilities take money out of your pocket. For a college student, a massive liability isn't necessarily a mortgage, it's maxing out a high-interest credit card for a spring break trip you can't actually afford. That trip keeps taking money out of your pocket in the form of interest for years. Building real wealth means making absolutely sure you deliberately own more assets than liabilities.
So how do you acquire these assets? Through investing. While saving protects your money from being spent, investing, through stocks, bonds, funds, businesses, and property, actually helps it multiply. To totally demystify this, owning a stock simply means owning a tiny, fractional piece of a real, profit-making business. When the business grows, your wealth grows. Now yes, every single investment carries some level of risk. But remember that hidden thief, inflation? Completely avoiding investing is actually incredibly risky, because inflation guarantees that your money will slowly and silently reduce in value over time.
Every financial decision involves trade-offs. Higher potential returns almost always come with higher risk. Safe savings accounts have very low risk, sure, but they offer an incredibly low return that barely fights off inflation. On the flip side, growth investments like the stock market have higher short-term risk but offer a much higher potential return over decades. Successful investors manage risk rather than ignoring it, and they know one fundamental truth. Promises of massive overnight profits with zero risk are literally always too good to be true.
And finally, we reach step 5, leverage your superpower, the ultimate college advantage. This is where we reveal the absolute biggest advantage you possess right now as a young adult.
Your ultimate superpower is compound growth. This is where your money becomes incredibly exponentially powerful. Imagine planting a small tree. Next year, it grows a few branches. The year after that, those branches grow their own branches, and it just keeps expanding outward. That's exactly how compound growth works. Your earnings begin earning even more earnings. It's like a snowball getting bigger and rolling faster down a hill. And the beautiful thing is, the earlier you start investing, the more powerful this compounding effect becomes.
Because here is the undeniable truth. The most valuable financial asset you have isn't money. It's time. Your youth is an asset that billionaires absolutely cannot buy. Because time allows for compounding, someone who starts investing a small amount at age 20 needs to contribute far, far less out of their own pocket to reach the exact same retirement goal than someone who waits until they're 40 to get serious. The 40-year-old has to play frantic catch-up. Money can be replaced, lost time cannot. Financial freedom isn't about becoming a millionaire overnight, and it's for sure not about restrictive budgets that totally ruin your college experience. It's simply about understanding how money behaves and directing it with intention. Master these foundational concepts, make small, smart decisions consistently, and your future self will absolutely thank you. Remember, in the world of finance, knowledge earns the highest return. So, what are you going to do with this knowledge today?